It's Hearthstone Grandmasters for the European region. I'm Matt Admirable. I'm joined by Darroch Brown, and we are getting into match number 4 of the day. We got Thijs versus BoarControl that's playing here. And honestly, when I kind of look at these two side by side, it feels like BoarControl's record is better than it actually is. He's sitting at 1-3 right now. I feel like he's done really well in terms of his overall play.
Yeah.
And it just hasn't really come together for him.
Yeah, week 1 when he lost both his matches with Mid-Range Hunter, I believe the deck that he brought, it was a bit of a setback for him. I think it was a decent meta call, but really just didn't find the decks it was looking for. This week he's gone for something which I think is a little bit more standard here with the mid-range, or sorry, the tempo rogue that he's gone for. Raiding Party and Prep is an interesting way to go about it, though. This is not the most standard build.
Yeah, and also just taking a look at the 2 Fairy Dragons that are in here. Like, this is a very aggressive build of Rogue that BoarControl has brought to the table here with some pretty crazy stuff going on in the secondary deck to supplement it.
Yes, it's a very interesting way of going about it. It's a while since we've seen Chef Nomi as the card of choice to counteract Warrior. We have other players going for example, I believe Bloodyface going for a draw heavy plus Togwaggle scheme variant with Rogue to counteract the Warriors. A lot of other players just throwing in more draw, as I said, and sometimes the High Sparrow and Togwaggle. But BoarControl going with a much more stripped down aggro version of Rogue there.
Yeah, and for Thijs, he's bringing the same thing. He says, you know what, it's working for me so far. I got a 3-1 match score. Why would I stop now? And after last week's fantastic pop-off with the Spirit of the Frog from a Conjurer's Calling, with a Sorcerer's Apprentice in play, and drawing the remainder of 1-cost spells from his deck in basically a single turn.
That was disgusting. I don't think I've ever seen a turn like that in my life.
Yeah, why would you stop playing the deck if that happens?
And it wasn't even like he did the best turn he possibly could. He just ran out of time because he had so many cards that he could draw. And like you said, this is a very similar deck to the one he brought last week. And I'm excited for this matchup, not only because it is 2 very prestigious European Hearthstone players in Thijs and BoarControl, but also this specific matchup, Rogue versus Mage. There's a lot of talk about this at the moment, even just in our interviews that we've had so far. Fino saying, Rogue does not beat Mage. Mage is just unstoppable. I wish I could face Rogues with my Mage. But then Pavel, on the other hand, saying he thinks that Rogue is good versus Mage. It can kind of pressure them out in the mid stages of the game. So I am very excited to see how this particular matchup shakes out.
Indeed. Also, just the builds that they have in general. You know, Thijs is sticking with the Questing Adventurer's main. He says that's still the call. I don't necessarily disagree with them. This is a matchup where I feel like they don't operate as good.
Yeah.
But, you know, just the fact that he has Questing Adventurer, that's a very, very different variation than what the other players are running. And the fact that BoarControl's brought Rogue, he's got Fairy Dragons and Salcy deckhands.
Which could just be pretty damn good in this matchup, I would say. He really, I think, wants to be going for a much more aggressive strategy. Given that he doesn't have the Burgle package, I suppose as you could call it, with the Vendettas and the Hench Clan Burglars thrown in there as well, his ability to actually kill off Giants is a lot more limited, and so I think therefore curving out with the kind of plays of Fairy Dragon into SI7 is pretty damn important.
Like, I look at this Fairy Dragon, this is majorly threatening to Thijs. Like, if you look at Thijs' deck, Khadgar, Mana Cyclone, Sorcerer's Apprentice, those are the only ways that he stops a Fairy Dragon. You cannot target this with spells, you cannot Hero Power it, and with a Backstab and a Deadly Poison, I think BoarControl might be able to protect this Fairy Dragon for, you know, an indefinite amount of time right now.
I agree with that. Do you think it was correct to coin it out there to get it down on turn 1? His follow-up is pretty weak.
I think if your opponent's not doing much,
it's just
and you don't have a way to stop this, the earlier you get it online, the more damage it deals. So my question is the breakpoint. Does that 3 damage matter? Let's find out. What does damage do? Does it do things? Let's find out. And for Thijs, I imagine...
It's looking pretty good.
For Thijs, I imagine you're looking at Questing Adventurer Mana Cyclone this turn.
Well, yeah, that's pretty much the only play that, like, does anything. It's either that or pass.
Well, he could pass.
Right, yeah. Well, which is what I'm considering. I think it's a very valid line of play.
I think it's scary to pass.
Questing just as a 4/4, though.
Just? Your opponent's got an uncontested Fairy Dragon. And you're not stopping it anytime soon.
With the 3rd line of play of just straight up Questing Adventure.
Okay, well that's dangerous.
Wow.
So now BoarControl, I think, has some really interesting options. All of his plays are good. Well, I take it dagger, redagger, or like attack the questing, redagger, attack phase.
There are
That's
bad
pretty
lines.
bad.
Yeah. This is kind of like level 1 of the most obvious play, getting stats on board, doing the damage. Like Deadly Poison on this turn, like you could go Deadly Poison Dread Corsair, which was worth considering. But you can still do that next turn and fit in a sap.
Yeah, so the ways I looked at it were you can Deadly Poison and Dread Corsair, and you can expend the dagger. You can still backstab in that instance. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well,
that's insane!
That's gonna do it. Yeah, you're gonna need to sip that teacup real quick, because this game's gonna be over.
Dude, this Fairy Dragon has just been absurd. That's 9 damage already.
As soon as I saw it yesterday, we always go over the deck list. We sit down with TJ and Frodan and me and Derek. We sit down, we talk about the matchups and things we find interesting. As soon as I saw Fairy Dragon, I went, this is brilliant. This is the choice of the weekend. Rogues right now, they're not running ways to improve weapons. Backstab is the premier way that you're going to kill an early minion. Mages have almost 0% chance to actually contest this efficiently. Like, there's just what's going to be here.
This was just sick from Boar. Like, the thing I like about this so much as well is his draws weren't even that good, I would argue, after he went the coin Fairy Dragon. It's not like he coined it out and then got the dream draws to use up all his mana. It was a pretty average series of draws. Sap hasn't been particularly good. Leroy is a closer, I guess.
Well, I think the second Dread Corsair was lights out.
It was good. It was a good draw, but I think
there's a lot of draws that did that.
Exactly. Lots of draws put him in this good of a situation.
I think a second Poison was great. Basically, any source of damage that turn was insane.
Yep. Even just an Abyss, a Shadow Step, anything at all would have done a huge amount of damage.
Never count Mage out. This is what I've learned.
Okay.
Watch this. 3 Blizzards.
Whoa!
I was kidding! I was kidding!
That's good.
It's really good!
Leroy Shadow Step!
Thijs is dead!
Unless he can get a taunt. He does not run Ziliax in the deck.
You need to go right at this point.
Yes, it is. But, so if BoarControl goes Leroy Shadow Step on this turn, he's got the sap as well, though. So Thijs would have to freeze the board, Conjurer's Calling, for 2 taunts.
That just doesn't work. That's just typically not how cards work. Like...
So many options.
So does BoarControl ever not go? Like, so the downside of Leroy Shadow Step on this turn is it gives your opponent 2 1/1s, which helps them clear up the board.
He's thinking about Sea Giant stuff, perhaps?
True.
Like Sea Giant Conjurer's Calling.
Okay, so
he's just going over random things, like what are the 4 outs, what are the 4 cost outs versus the 2 cost outs, what are the chances that it actually matters? Yeah. Like, he's just checking all of his different positions. Like, BoarControl has an astute enough mind, I think, to think about those minor things. And so that point of damage right there, he says, if you get taunts, I need to sap anyway. Oh my gosh.
No way! No way!
That attack is the one thing that I was about to have a question mark about.
He now doesn't have lethal because he attacked.
Although, if he doesn't attack, he gets 3 minions cleared off. So you have SI7 Agent plus a dagger in play, and 1 damage off of lethal in the face of Mirror Image. There's a reason he clears the 2/2.
No. If Mirror Image came down, he could have weapon sapped Leroy Jenkins and won the game.
Well, he still got to deal a point of damage.
Oh, right, sorry. Oh, yeah, okay. Okay.
Long story short here, Thijs has a much better chance than I thought he could possibly have.
He's so in this game. He is very much in this game.
Time runs out on me.
This is the one thing that BoarControl did not want to see.
Yeah, you see the Grimace too. There's another Frost Nova, there's another Mana Cyclone. If this Cyclone produces, I think Boar could be in trouble. How? What? How?
Whoa!
Oh! It's so close.
He doesn't have enough mana.
So you have to get through the Leroy anyway, right? So you dagger, you poke a thing. You say go. Next turn. Sap.
So many
poke
options.
a thing. Eviscerate Leroy.
That's 1 damage off, right? And still, because if you poke a...
No, you eviscerate face.
Oh, you eviscerate face. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you're correct.
So you
Unless
simply,
another taunt comes into play.
right. I mean,
Right. Well, you can't,
keep putting
you
them
can't
to the
play
test.
around that.
Keep putting them to the test.
Oh my god, this game.
This is crazy that it's even a chance for Thijs to win. Like, he should be dead. And you may look at a hand like this and think, there's really not a lot going on, but it's kind of the opposite. When you have the bare bones minimum tools left, they're strong, but they're one-shots. You have to maximize it. He's considering eviscerating face this turn to account for a draw step.
All right, this is it. For Thijs, freezing is not good enough because poke, sap, Evis face, Leroy Jenkins, there's exact mana to do it, and it's exact lethal. He doesn't know that, of course. Thijs no longer has perfect information.
No Ziliax main, no Rabble Bouncers main.
Conjurer's Calling is it.
What to do?
Unless he can freeze the face by generating a Frostbolt or something. He doesn't even have any card generating cards.
Ball game. Wow.
Dude, that game was unbelievable.
I tell you what.
I
there
believed that Thijs was going to come back there.
Ah, yeah, the old sap the mirror image play. It's a classic.
Oldest trick in the book. Even going for exact lethal, because of course he does.
Throws at the stands. Whatever. I could have done more damage. Who cares? Game win is what matters. And look at the coin fairy dragon.
That's the turn. That's
Coin.
the turn.
Fairy dragon.
Yep. That was a play that so many people would not have made. I think I would put myself in that camp as well. I think if I was actually just faced with that hand, I probably would not coin Fairy Dragon, because I'm thinking 2-drop, 3-drop works out beautifully.
I feel like if I'm going to put fairy dragon in my deck, that means I want it in play as early as possible. I think I would have landed on coin fairy dragon because of happenstance, not so much as knowledge and planning, but I'm like, wow, a 3-2.
Because
I like those.
you literally just close your eyes and move your mouse around and stuff happens.
I often close my eyes and click buttons. That's kind of how it works. BoarControl, not a super decisive game, number one. In terms of closing the game, the early stages, complete blowout.
Yeah, I think he played exactly to that.
Way closer, I think, than he anticipated. Like, I'm curious what he's actually thinking in that moment where he's like, are you kidding? Like, is this really going to happen right now? So players are looking at their secondary and tertiary decks right now, and for Thijs, this is, I think, pretty darn easy. The 2 Rabble Bouncers are coming in.
Yes, I agree. As we can see here, Rabble Bouncer and Ziliax and Shooting Star, and a Frostbolt even, all of which are fantastic cards against Rogue. I would say arguably the most important is the Rabble Bouncer, just because they can go so wide on board early on, and I think that just ability to stick something on board and then develop counter pressure by casting Conjurer's Calling on it is super important.
I definitely agree with you. I think that the Rabble Bouncers being in the side is fairly core if you expect rogues to be showing up. And for BoarControl, trying to get word. What exactly? There we go. Sticking primary. That's what I was waiting for on this one. I thought there was a chance he could move into more burn package.
Yeah, the tertiary deck is interesting.
The thing about it is his main deck also includes a copy of Betrayal, and it also includes a copy of Walk the Plank, which are clearly aimed at this matchup. Anything he changes would have to take out those cards. So there's no chance that he's changing that against a mage.
Yeah.
And there we have it.
Interesting hand here for Thijs, where if we were to see a game anything similar to the last one, this hand would not be very good. Double Rabble Bouncer against just a Fairy Dragon open and then making a few big minions is pretty awful. So despite saying that Rabble Bouncers can be very good in this matchup, I really wouldn't be surprised to see Thijs pitching at least one of them away. Or both, yeah. I think the Sorcerer's Apprentice Mana Cyclone opens is much more what you're looking for. Something akin to this.
I'm quite surprised that both of them hit the bin.
So actually, I think I want to amend my statement. In general, Rabble Bouncer is very good at Rogue against Rogue at the moment. BoarControl, however, is not running a lot of the cards that make it good against Rogue. No Cable Rat, no Spirit of the Shark to generate more lackeys to go wider on the board. His build of the deck is much more face damage oriented.
Huh. No, I mean, it's a really good point.
And I think a hand like this for Thijs is much more what he's after.
So I guess I wonder where you go with this hand for Thijs. I mean, this is complicated.
There's so many options here. Khadgar's Coin Mirror Image.
Honestly, that's where my head was at.
Yeah. I don't think you have much to capitalize on that, so I think I like taking it a little bit slower. As BoarControl's hand again.
This guy's toast.
This is just curve out and kill him, is exactly what this hand says.
Waggle pick just a 4-mana 4/2 weapon.
I believe you are making fun of me for a line of play I was advocating for in our first match of the day, or second match, which I still think was correct.
Honestly, good weapons are so insane if you think about them.
Waggle Pick is a very good weapon. All I was saying was that Spirit of the Shark with double activation on a Cable Rat twice with a Shadow Step and 2 of the lackeys it generates, the vast majority of the time is significantly more powerful, saves you much more life over the long run of the game, and develops much more board control than a single Waggle Pick would have done.
I was just going to say it's like 4-mana Pyroblast because it's 8 damage. It takes a bit of time to get there, but weapons are good.
Weapons are good, I agree. Lots of lackeys are often gooder, though. But anyway, that's not even a part of this game. Whatever, dude.
All right, I'm looking at Khadgar now. This is, we're getting to the emergency situation. How much longer can you wait?
Are you looking at Khadgar this turn? Because that's a 3-mana giant, right?
Yeah, it definitely is. Like,
Oh, he just plays the giant.
what else can he do, really?
What do you mean, what else can he do? Look at his hand!
You want to cast Mirror Image here as well?
Well, I was looking at Sorcerer's Apprentice, Mana Cyclone. Like, this play is obviously insane if the giant sticks. BoarControl is playing Walk the Plank, he's playing Sap. Also, he can just ignore it. Or he can even just kill it off here. He's not even going with the Sap.
That's kind of where I was going for. It was that with just the Mountain Giant, BoarControl, I think just given the style of BoarControl, he's extremely likely to kill your giant.
So I guess for Thijs here, he's thinking that this going for the Mountain Giant combo just wasn't worth it, so you just throw it down to save 8 health?
Exactly. It also delivers damage. It defines your opponent's game plan, and then you move into a turn like this. I kind of like the way he's played this. It's very strange.
It's very strange.
But I like it. So it's 1 spell. We got 2, 3, 4 more. We're going up to 4, rather, and then the Mana Cyclone. So you buff the Sorcerer's Apprentice out of backstab range.
Yeah.
Ooh, buffing Khadgar out of range.
Maybe this was just the best line of play from Thijs. Like, if he'd gone with a big Mana Cyclone Conjurer's Calling turn last turn, he wouldn't have generated enough cards to play Mountain Giant plus Conjurer's Calling on this turn. And by getting all these mirror images, he's preserving a huge amount of health.
Nice defensive options as well.
I'd say that's not that good. Research Project is nigh on unplayable.
I'm looking at Cone of Cold Vaporize.
They're all right, yeah. The Cone of Cold is good. Cone of Cold is very good.
Your MO right now for Thijs is going to be buy time.
Yeah.
So I'm curious exactly how much time this buys.
I wonder.
The answer is a fair bit. Does the Betrayal ever come down here? You could cast it on the Khadgar. I guess if you bounce back either the 2 or 1 mana minion here, you could then go Betrayal Edwin.
Honestly, all the bounce backs are pretty good.
Yeah, they're all fine. That's the worst one.
You think Greenskin's the worst one?
I think so. He'd rather play something right away, right, and make a bigger Edwin. And that just removes the most amount of stats from the board. Khadgar and Apprentice both survived the turn.
Yeah, I dislike the Betrayal over the Eviscerate.
Right, yeah. Thijs do this turn? Unexpected results summons 4 2-cost minions.
I don't like leaving up the Sorcerer's Apprentice, and I definitely don't like the positioning here. And it's very rare that positioning against Kona Cold is a major factor, but it is definitely one here.
Dare I say, this could be the last Pogo Hopper off of unexpected results we ever see before they both get buffed in the upcoming balance patch.
That's right.
Yeah. Dude, unexpected results is going to be good. Imagine Khadgar into unexpected results as just the curve.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It gives me an idea of how you could see it again, though. It's the new hot minion that reduces your opponent's spell damage by 1.
BoarControl is also being punished for his positioning here, it's worth pointing out. Not having the Fairy Dragon in the middle. Wrinkling his nose up there, he knows that was just not how you play that.
He's staring down 14.
Yeah, this is all just crumbling for BoarControl.
You can't leave a Sorcerer's Apprentice up like that. Like, the Betrayal was just worse.
It was just bad.
I get that eviscerates damage.
Yeah.
Drink up the
Oh, yeah, it just blundered. I think in BoarControl's head, he made the mistake of thinking to himself, I get to attack with my dagger.
Yeah. I'm not even sure if it was that. I think he was...
Why else would you Betrayal, leave it at 4-1, and then eviscerate the next
well,
round?
if he can bounce back the deckhand...
But when you fail to bounce back the deckhand, then you don't Betrayal and leave the Sorcerer's Apprentice alive.
Yeah.
I think, I mean,
it was wrong.
Honestly, it's a mistake that I have made a number of times, and it feels like you should never make that mistake, and then you go through the motion, and you're so used to using dagger and attacking with it.
So now for Thijs to actually just close this game out. Okay, well, it's not over yet. He doesn't have lethal, and BoarControl obviously has a tremendous amount of burst in his deck. It's pretty close to ending the end of the game. Wouldn't he rather go for the Pogo Hopper? He'd rather transform a 3/3 than a 1/1?
Wouldn't you? 1/1s are great.
Time runs out on me.
Oh, of course he's thinking about randomly generating the second Pogo Hopper. Actually, that doesn't make any sense.
Maybe he's thinking that like Direwolf Alpha or something, maybe?
Oh, I guess maybe. Shouldn't that one be a 3/3? And I think short of a miracle off of Myra's.
I'm looking at game 3.
Yeah, me too. BoarControl has to cast Myra's here to see the next turn. That's all. Which he still will not be able to do.
So what's your dream draws from?
I mean, there's nothing, right?
2 preps?
There's only one. Oh, there are 2 preps in the deck, yeah. Prep
All right,
this.
we're going in.
I don't even know.
I'm not seeing preps. I'm seeing 0 preps.
That ain't it.
There are no more preps to be had.
I give up.
Game 3.
A real close one there for Thijs, and such an interesting turns 4 and 5, I would say, from him there, with just playing out the Mountain Giant onto the board, which I really would not have thought as the way that you approach that game, because even if you just go Mountain Giant and play the mirror image on the same turn, or you go Mountain Giant or you don't play the Mountain Giant, instead go for a big mirror image Sorcerer's Apprentice play, I think having seen it shake out, his was actually just the best way to go around it, because if the Mountain Giant is cleared off, he's saved 8 health. If the Mountain Giant is not cleared off, he can then just go for Khadgar into Conjurer's Calling and win the game on the spot.
I just look at it from BoarControl's side and I go, what went wrong? I feel like that game should have been won. Something had to have gone wrong that game.
Playing the green skin instead of sapping? Was that wrong? He could have gone sap Edwin instead of playing the green skin.
I don't know. I really don't, and I feel like he should have won that game, and I don't know how.
It was close.
Either way, that's a rough one. We got to go to a break. When we come back, we're going to find out if BoarControl can take it, or if Thijs is going to bring this one back. That was a pretty crazy pan out to our first 2 games. And when we come back, we're going to be finding out the end of this series. Don't go anywhere. Stick around.
My name is James Kostasich. My handle is Firebat. My username is based off the StarCraft player Firebat Hero. I was a fan of him and watched him on Twitch early on in his career, and then just named myself Firebat because I thought it was cool. Something about me that people don't know, I really hate spending money. I try and save it whenever I can. I recently learned how to repair a dishwasher so that I didn't have to buy a new dishwasher. I like doing stuff like that. I get a really good sense of accomplishment and pride whenever I'm able to salvage something. My favorite Hearthstone Esports memory is winning the 2014 World Championship. That was pretty tough to beat, but I'm hoping that one day I can beat that memory. Being in Grandmasters, to me, means that I get another chance to prove myself and show that 2014 wasn't a fluke and that I am still here to play. I mean, I love playing against my own region because I get to play against a lot of my friends, which is always like really fun and entertaining, and there's so many different mind games. But at the same time, I'd really love to play against Europe and really knock them down a few pegs because they're so cocky all the time. I look forward to winning the most and losing the least. I definitely don't want to lose, and I definitely want to win, so it's really simple.
Mazahidul Islam. I go by Muzzy in game. My username, as you know, my first name is Mazahidul. It's kind of difficult to say for some people, and every time someone calls you, they're gonna have to say, "Hey, Mazahidul." That's long, and you don't want to say that. My friend gave me a nickname, like, "Hey Muzz, hey Muzzy." So I sort of just took that, and name's Muzzy. I took a look at the list of players. Some of them have been more focused on streaming, I would say, in these past few years. I've participated at the highest levels of competition that they might not have appeared in. I'm the player to beat in my group, for sure. The thing that I most look forward to about competing in Grandmasters is the thrill of the competition. It's really why I play Hearthstone. It's what I've enjoyed doing for the past 3-4 years, and it's what I'll continue to enjoy doing, hopefully. I think Hearthstone Instinct is definitely my greatest skill set. I think that if I took a break for a while and didn't play the game and came back to new cards, I think I could pilot a new deck fairly well, fairly quickly. People would always mention the term burnout to me. Burnout, burnout, burnout. I didn't know what it was. I would constantly play Hearthstone all the time. I definitely want to have more titles and put my name in Hearthstone history.
Muzzy and Firebat are kicking off the third match in the Americas region today. They're going to be battling it out. But right now, we got game number 3 of match number 4 on week number 3 of day number 1 of Thijs versus BoarControl, who are at 3-1 and 1-3 match scores, respectively, Darok.
Yes.
Thijs has moved on to his tertiary deck, third deck, in case you were wondering, in number terms.
Rather than word terms.
I like to speak binary. Trinary in this instance. Well, I guess trinary would be -1. Forget about it.
What are the decks that they're playing? That's admirable.
We're looking at Cyclone Mage for Thijs, who is sticking on that secondary deck. Wait. Tertiary deck. What?
I have to imagine that's a miscued graphic. Switching over to the tertiary deck here would be very surprising indeed, because the secondary deck is the anti-rogue one.
Wow. No, he's playing. He wants the weapon destruction.
He's playing the tertiary.
Yeah, he wants the weapon destruction.
That is so interesting.
I'm shocked.
I am honestly shocked. I mean, as you said, it does have Harrison and Acidic Swampus. And I guess he's actually just come to the decision that Rabble Bouncers against specifically BoarControl's deck, which doesn't have as many lackeys, doesn't go as wide on board, is less valuable than the Swampus and the Messenger Raven, even though it takes out Frost Novas and puts in Astromancers and Messenger Ravens, both of which are super slow cards.
I'm shocked.
Crazy.
I'm shocked by that.
I am absolutely shocked.
He did throw away the Rabble Bouncers.
He did. And I guess that was the light bulb moment for him when he realized it's just not really necessary in this matchup.
Sucks.
What am I doing? Where's my ooze?
Oh.
You know what doesn't suck?
My gosh. Derek, that's not fair.
This is like, I mean, Edwin has been around for such a long time that a good Edwin hand, I think, has become like a primal reaction in a human. There's just nothing that feels quite so good as a huge Edwin hand on the coin. So what are we looking at? Fairy Dragon on 2. On turn 3, coin, Miscreant, step the Miscreant, Miscreant again, backstab if there's anything on board, Edwin Van Cleef.
This is way different than game number 1 to me.
Very much so.
The reason is exactly Edwin Van Cleef. It's not the Fairy Dragon, it's not the Evil Miscreant, it's the Edwin.
Yes.
So the Edwin is demanding of you to play a slower game in order to get the biggest payoff.
Not, yeah, I suppose you could call it a slower game.
The pressure,
overall, it will be quicker.
Yes, the pressure all collides at once. Like, that's what Edwin Van Cleef does. It rewards you for playing the game in a normal manner.
Yep.
Like, you get to play all of your cards and then you win. So in this instance, Boar's super incentivized to save the coin.
Yep.
And the moment Thijs plays anything, BoarControl gets to unleash. And so now I'm curious about the Tom play. If you think back to the 2017 World Championships where he backstabbed his own swashbuckler.
We could be there. I imagine he'd be more likely to backstab his own Miscreant because it then still survives. Like, he could even just, if he wanted to, he could go coin Miscreant, backstab it, shadow step it, play it again so it goes back to full health and then play the Edwin.
I'm looking at just going in here because Thijs's main deck had 2 copies of Snap Freeze. You know that he's moving out of that. So if you anticipated Rabble Bouncers, there's 1 copy of Snap Freeze. There's exactly 1 card that kills this Edwin. You can coin, you can play the South Sea, you can shadow step the South Sea, you get to play the South Sea, you get to backstab the South Sea, and play an Edwin.
I wonder.
If Thijs can't answer that, the game is ended.
Wait, why would you play the South Sea deck hands? I don't...
To buff the Edwin.
Oh, right, yeah, okay, yeah.
1,
Oh, right,
2,
yeah.
3, 4, 5.
I'm inventing 3 mana with my play. I don't know what I'm looking at with the coin Miscreant, backstab it, nonsense.
Well, you're looking at 1 turn delay, which
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
is fine.
yeah,
I think all of the turns for Edwin are good. Now, when I pray to the Rogue Gods and they give me this hand, I don't slap him in the face. I go in. 6/6 Edwin, I think, is responsible.
The Brotherhood shall come.
I would have gone in. Conjurer's Calling can answer the Edwin as well. You get 2 3-drops on your side of the board.
I mean, that's great. If he Conjurer's Calling this 6/6 Edwin, you're very happy.
I think it looks a lot better when you have these 3 cards in your hand.
Yes.
So if you make the 12/12 Edwin, your opponent gets to blow that up sometimes.
Yeah.
Someday I'll be just like
So I think that Boar is responsible here, but you get an idea of how deep he could have gone in on this.
Oh, this is a tough choice. If he goes for Intellect and hits the Mana Cyclone exactly, that would be absolutely absurd. Snap Freeze, however,
Pretty
is
sure I'm taking
pretty
Snap Freeze.
tempting. Could even fit in the second Apprentice as well to get it for free.
If you take the
What
Ray
to
of Frost,
do? What to do?
you can just kind of freeze the Edwin forever.
That's
I
true.
mean, you get 4 turns of freezing Edwin that way.
Well, I mean, if he takes the Arcane Intellect, maybe that's good enough to just freeze it.
Oh, goodness.
2 turns.
That's a good point as well. Now, mind you, though, he's over on the tertiary deck, so he no longer has Snap Freezes,
Oh, you're so
and he
right,
no longer
yeah.
has Frost Nova.
What? Time runs out on me.
So akin to Boar's responsible play, I think Thijs has to make a responsible play.
But this just works out horribly for him, because if he goes for second Apprentice here, or even if he doesn't, we can just see Backstab Miscreant perfectly clears up pretty much everything
I
that
am.
Thijs is trying to develop.
I'm pretty curious about the second Apprentice because Thijs could have frozen the Edwin and pinged off the 2/1 and had 1 Source Apprentice, so that gets punished by this. But then you have a second Sorcerer's Apprentice with the Ray of Frost and the Snap Freeze next turn.
This is miserable for Thijs.
This has been a weird game.
And I wonder if he should have come to the conclusion that he's in a bad spot, so he has to just go for the Arcane Intellect there to find good cards from his deck. It doesn't kill the Edwin, obviously, but if he makes such powerful plays on his own side of the board by finding Mountain Giants, then maybe he doesn't need to care about the Edwin. I don't know.
Yeah, this is... I just keep looking at the tertiary deck and
many
thinking
options.
the Frost Nova's gone.
Yeah.
And we have 2 weapon removals, which, you know, Boar doesn't look like... I mean, this game is very likely to go without a Waggle pick ever at this stage.
Okay.
So your weapon removal is just not fitting the bill, and Boar's just going to take advantage of this with stuff. He's got the Betrayal in hand, so he's free to make wide board states against Sea Giant and Conjurer's Calling.
And so this is where it gets interesting, because I think if BoarControl knew that Thijs had switched over to his tertiary deck, he would have played the Faceless Lackey there because the Evil Miscreant is very likely to survive until the next turn. Mage has very little removal to deal with cards like that. And so stepping it and playing it again next turn would have been better. But he does not know that Rabble Bouncers are out of the deck. So he's wondering, if I play the Faceless Lackey here and go too wide on board, can Thijs just come back in with a big Rabble Bouncer turn?
That's exactly what he's thinking about. He's thinking about when does he take advantage of that and how.
Because he still does not know. He hasn't seen any of the cards that are teched in Messenger, Raven, Ooze, Harrison, or Astromancer.
And so was that Thijs' plan moving over?
Very possibly.
Was that Boar plays a slower game, he eventually gets the payoff with weapon removal, and then by the time Boar knows that all that stuff's gone, Thijs is hoping it's too late. Interesting.
Super interesting, man. This is definitely one of the things I'm liking most about Specialist format, is the mind games that you can play on your opponent. Because it's not like with Conquest Q Order, where it was basically just random and there was no real strategy to it. Here, Thijs, by kind of baiting BoarControl into thinking he's sticking with the secondary deck and then switching over. Maybe I'm giving him too much credit. Maybe he just switched to the wrong deck the first time and now switches to the deck that he decides is better.
The things that you're explaining are still consequences of these actions, though. Whether or not they intend them to be that.
I'm going to choose to give him credit. I have enough respect for Thijs as a player that I think he is lulling Boar into a false sense of security and making him play suboptimal plays. Again, look at this. He doesn't go wide on the board, when if he knew that Thijs was playing his tertiary deck instead of his secondary, it would basically be strictly better to develop on board.
Boar also gets the benefit of playing around Sea Giant here. So I like the way that he's taking this pace.
I think that's a slight benefit, but Rabble Bouncer is so much scarier than Sea Giant here.
I definitely agree with that as well. Yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons why Boar's taking his time, is that also it's, you know, what do the lackeys represent to Thijs when he's not just jamming him on board, when he's taking his time, when he's pacing this out? Like, what does it say about the rest of his hand? And so here for Boar, I imagine that Greenskin and Poison...
Greenskin, Deadly Poison? Yeah.
Very appealing.
That's a lot of damage there. Even with just the one charge, that's really not too bad, up to a 4-2.
With Backstab in hand,
4-2 weapons are pretty good.
Yeah, he's going in. I don't blame him.
Oh, yes. This is the weakness, because this is not only a weakness of the deck that Thijs is actually on, this is a weakness of the deck that BoarControl thinks that Thijs is on. He does not think that an Ooze or a Harrison is in deck. It is. But is that even good enough here? He's just taking too much damage. Like, we could see Evocation Giant into Ray of Frost here.
Thijs is just going to hope the damage isn't there. It's technically not.
How much damage is this? It's lethal,
9.
right? It's lethal. It's lethal. It's exact lethal.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the Goblin Lackey,
The Goblin
9,
Lackey.
the weapon 10.
It's exactly lethal.
Oh!
Oh!
It was enough!
Dude, this series was so interesting. BoarControl coming in with the damage for Rogue right at the end, because Thijs basically, for the last 3 turns, has done nothing. He's had absolutely nothing to play. His hand was miserable.
And Boar's hand wasn't.
It was not. It was a pretty good hand.
After the Edwin, kind of mediocre.
Yeah, it was a fantastic start and a
Miscreant turn.
reasonable mid-game.
Yeah, just had stuff.
But the interesting thing is, again, if he had perfect information about Thijs' deck that he'd switched to, his mid-game would have been significantly more powerful, because he would have just turboed onto the board.
Well, we get to ask him about that, too.
We do indeed.
Well, I'll let you ask him about that.
Okay,
Because
thanks, buddy.
You pointed it out.
Oh, I did.
I don't want to steal that thunder. In my head, he was like, all right, playing around Sea Giant.
I'd like to see you try.
You can't see the thunder because it's so quick, because it's lightning. Well, thunder's from lightning. You get where I'm going there. The weird thing to me still is game number 2 from Boar. Like,
right.
What happened? It just felt like he just collapsed, and he's like,
I think, yeah.
Stuff, and then, like, I was like, what is everything still alive? What happened?
He did develop noodle arms on that betrayal turn. I think was where things really start to fall apart for him, where he didn't kill off the Khadgar or the Sorcerer's Apprentice, and if he'd killed off either, he would have been in a much better spot, I think. But overall, I think his understanding of these matchups is pretty spot on. He realizes that having a small board of relatively powerful minions is generally the way to go, because Mage struggles with dealing with that.
Indeed, and Boar is ready for an interview. BoarControl, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Hey.
Hey!
Hi, Boar.
Yeah, game 2, huh?
What a game that was.
What happened?
Yeah, you know that thing where you disconnect at the start of the turn sometimes? That thing happened, and I was like, right, I gotta go fast. And I was like planning to betrayal the 2-2 into the Kagar and then Abyss, and then I betrayed the Kagar, and I was like, oh, I've betrayed the wrong thing, and I just sort of played a card.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, yeah, things happened. Yeah.
That explains a lot more, because I watched that turn and I was like, I don't even know what to say.
Turn.
I don't know what to say. Like,
it was a really rough spot, because like I was behind on board, and once you're behind on board against the mage, there's just not much you can really do from the rogue side.
So talk to me about the decision to bring this this deck this week in general. You have a pretty different rogue list from what everyone else is running.
So there's been a million different rogue decks. If you look at everyone's list, they all play different cards. Some people play Sea Giants, people play Spirit of the Sharks. I was predicting my opponents to be bringing Mage or maybe Rogue, and I tested various lists. It's basically impossible to test enough Rogue because it's so random with the Evil Miscreant and all the different lackeys you get and all the different scenarios and panouts. I found in the Rogue Mirrors, all that was happening was whoever drew Evil Miscreant kind of just won the game, and then the coin as well. I found going for this approach helped me out by going more aggro, and just tempoing Zero Mana Dread Corsairs were just pretty good. As well, against Mage, I like this build more against the Mage decks too. It's also just a surprise because no one brings weapon removal because they don't expect you to have like the raiding party stuff in your decks. If I thought there'd be major weapon removal, this deck was definitely bad.
So that brings us on to a very interesting point with Thijs switching between his decks. Before you saw the ooze coming down in the last game, what was like your thinking with what decks he was switching over to? Because you were making some plays with not playing the faceless lackey playing around Rabble Bouncer there.
Yeah, I was pretty sure that he was going to switch to deck 2 because I practiced the decks and this one was the best one against me. The weapon removal is good, but when you're putting in Astromancers, then it kind of counteracts that because you can have games where I don't have the weapon and then you just die. So I didn't think he would switch, but I knew that Thijs is the kind of person who might always switch it up to try and get an edge. But then again, if I play into Rabble Bouncer there, I felt like that was like the way I lost the game. He's ping passed on 5. Why would I bother giving him the Rabble Bouncer? If he's playing the Astromancer list, he can't play anything on 6 anyway, so might as well just go narrow there.
All right, and also you're going to be attending the upcoming Masters Tour in Vegas with Fino and Orange, I believe, as well. Talk to me about that event and what you anticipate, what with the the balance and all the stuff that we have coming up for the metagame in terms of Hearthstone. Of course, in terms of Hearthstone. What kind of question is that? I got to call myself out on stupid questions. I'm sorry. Continue your point, but I need to call myself out because that was dumb.
So what to anticipate? It's actually very difficult. We've seen week 1 of this tournament, there was all warriors. Week 2, all mage. Week 3, all rogue. Going into a large event like that, predicting the field with buffs just happening, it's going to be very, very difficult to predict what's going to happen. Like, is Crystology going to make Paladin busted, or is the reduction in mana of so many other cards just going to speed up the game that much that decks can kill OTK Paladin faster? Does, say, a Mech Hunter deck become good now? We'll have to just test around the clock and see what's good.
I have one final question. How are Billy and Bessie doing?
Billy and Bessie? Billy's actually just meowing outside the door for trying to get in, but I didn't want to get up during the series and let him in. I thought that might be too distracting, but yeah, he's actually probably quite annoyed, I'm saying.
Well, go
Billy's
get
current state.
Go get it. Go get the cat. Yeah.
I think he might have gone. We'll see.
Go on.
Well, we'll stick around.
For those of you who are unaware.
Oh no, he's waiting outside.
Oh yeah, come on. Here we go. This is Boar's already famous cat.
There we go.
There we go. Hey.
We did it.
We did it. Cat cam.
I like cats, but I'm deathly allergic to them.
Oh, well.
They will make my face explode.
We'd better end this call quickly then.
Yeah, I think I'm getting a little allergies here, Boar. I'm sorry. I gotta let you go. But thank you very much for your time and congratulations on your win. Look forward to seeing you play tomorrow.
Thanks.
Cats are cute.
So is Boar.
They just make my face blow up. Okay, this is a different direction I was expecting, but
he's a handsome man. He's also a very good Hearthstone player.
Admittedly, I also felt more included that you two didn't British out on me.
Oh, we
like
did.
last time.
It was all like movements with the eyes. It was very, very subtle this time. I was like, all right, mate. That's like a double twitch to the left eye. That's all right, mate.
It's like a secret language.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So I need to become British in order to learn it. Is that right, mate?
Yeah, that was... Oh, it sure is, governor.
That means we're going to a break, which means that we got one more match. Bunny Hopper versus Viper. A replay of the top 4 from the World Championships is our 5th and final match of the day. It's Hearthstone Grandmasters. It's cringy. So make sure you're here.